Welcome to this video on TCS iON Secure Pay application. First, let us go through the various tabs on the left side of the application screen. On expanding the view, you can see the following tabs: Home, Manage Transactions, Reports, Configure Invoice, Business Configuration and Integration Guide. On the dashboard screen, quick links for Business Configuration and Configure Invoice is available. First, let us go through the Business Configuration tab. To do so, click Business Configuration. The Business Configuration is divided in three subtabs, that is, Business Profile, Payment Gateway, and User Role Management. In the Business Profile subtab, you can add a logo of the company which will be accessible on the invoice. Then, enter the details of the company. Choose the default language and additional language. Then, the invoice number can be auto-generated, or can be added manually each time. Auto-generate invoice number. The prefix mentioned in the field will be displayed for each generated invoice. Add manually each time. Every time, the invoice number needs to be entered manually. To add the customer details, click Add Detail. Add the customer business information, and click Save. Payment Gateway, select a payment gateway from the available options. Next is the User Role Management. There can be two roles defined for the application, that is Admin and Business User. Note that, as an admin, all the 6 tabs on the application home screen will be visible, and for a business user, the Business Configuration and Configure Invoice tab will not be visible. Further, we will take a look at how to configure an invoice. To do so, click Configure Invoice. The different invoice templates will be displayed. Note that you can edit, clone or translate the invoice accordingly. Click Edit to edit the invoice configuration. The design template page will be displayed. Select the language and enter the summary of the invoice in the given field. Then, add the item description, add customers and select a customer notification type. Enter the email ID and phone number in the Add Customers section to notify them either by SMS or email. Also, there are different types of field components available to add in an invoice. For example, to configure a drop list in the invoice, click Drop List. Enter the field label and options text, and click Save. The drop list created will be displayed. Similarly, click Terms and Conditions. Enter the field label, field value and click Save. The terms and conditions will be displayed. Similarly, it is possible to configure the other field components. Further, let us take a look at the Design Invoice section. Enter the business details such as business name, business address, business logo, etc. Enter the item description and click Continue. Next, in the Design Notification section, you will be able to configure the details in the SMS notification, configure an email notification, configure body text and click Save. A success message will be displayed. Let us go through the next tab, that is Manage Transactions. To explore this tab, click Manage Transactions. The created transactions will be displayed. First, to create a new invoice, click Invoice, select the language. Enter the summary of the invoice. And then, enter the item description. Further, in the Add Customers section, enter the customer details. Note that it is mandatory to enter the customer email ID and phone number. Select the preferred mode of notification to the customers. And click Create. The invoice will be created successfully. Note that at the same time, a link will be sent to the registered email ID and phone number. On click of the received link, the preview of the invoice will be displayed. Then, click Pay Now. Select a payment gateway to proceed with the payment. Various actions such as Share Invoice, Clone Invoice, Manually Complete, and Cancel the transaction can be performed on the created invoice. Let us view these actions one by one. Share Invoice. The created invoice can be shared via an email or SMS. Copy the link and can also share the link. Note that the invoice can also be cloned. To do so, click Clone Invoice. To manually mark the transaction as complete, click Manually Complete. Enter the required details and click Save. To cancel a transaction, click Cancel Transaction. Note that The transaction can be cancelled only if the status of the transaction is initiated. An additional feature is available to filter the invoice or transaction ID. Click Filter to explore this feature. You can enter the invoice or transaction ID, customer name, customer email, phone number, invoice date, transaction status, and click Search. For example, if you filter according to the invoice date, the invoices created on that day will be displayed. Further, we will explore the Reports tab. The reports are divided in 3 subsections, that is, total sale, payment received, and payment due. The different colors represent the number of days for which the payment is due. Finally, let us take a look at the integration guide. The integration guide is divided in 2 subsections, that is, web services and mashup. The web services provide a brief description after the TCS iON Secure Pay application is procured, whereas the mashup describes the payment collection capability through different APIs. With this, we complete the video on TCS iON Secure Pay application.